Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's quick little update on some of the projects that are ongoing, and I got a real cool thing that I just found that I think I'm going to apply, and I think you guys will think it's pretty cool. Let's take a quick peek. So now as I walk around in the fish room, in the lair, and you guys often see things like some of the white spots are still on the wall. Biggs hasn't done anything, he's just been sitting around. No, I've been actually busy doing stuff. Just some of the stuff doesn't look like it's happened yet. But I've been actually actively doing stuff. It's also been a pretty busy couple of work weeks right now. But actually, you guys can see, I actually found a whole bunch of silicone, and I found a whole bunch of the landscape foam. This is the black foam. I found it at the same sort of price point. Normally this landscape foam, the expanding foam, like great stuff, this stuff is usually more money. But this time it was the same sort of price. Same price. This is $12.99 in Canada. Same price as the regular yellow stuff. And it's a bit easier to conceal. So basically, this thing's going to start happening hopefully soon. Got lots of ideas for it. Got some strapping. Got some hardware cloth. We got some pots. Got some screws. We got some foam. Oh boy, some magic's going to be happening. But that's not the project for today. Now you guys have seen, I've done all sorts of different types of builds. So the one that's sitting right in front of me right there, you guys know already, that's going to be gutted and changed. That's actually going to become a paludarium with fish underneath it. And maybe I didn't tell you that, guys, but that's what's going to be happening. It's going to be super, super cool. I'm waiting on that because there's no reason for me to tackle any other projects till some of these other projects get handled. But the reason I'm showing you that one is the background. Remember the background when we did some of these vivariums? We did them all using natural cork. This one here, we actually used the styrofoam background that came with it. The lights aren't on it yet. But we used the styrofoam and we chiseled it away and made a nice natural background. And these are both vivariums. Now both of those, theoretically, you could probably use in a fish tank, but cork is being super buoyant as well as the styrofoam. It doesn't really give for a nice background, in my opinion. But you guys have also seen in some of the vivarium builds, such as some of the isopod builds and some of the tarantula builds, where I've used some of the different cork-like products. There's a beautiful girl out. Look at her out sunning herself. Beautiful brachypelma. But you can see that beautiful dark cork background. It really blends in really, really well, depending on, you can see I need to do a bit more maintenance on some of these enclosures, but it works really, really well for certain enclosures. So there's one made out of natural slabs of oak bark. I've done that in some other vivariums. And then there's another one like the Tokay Gecko one. You can see I got to clean the shed on this one here. But that's another one of those ones that uses the styrofoam that came existing with this. We just modified it to make it look a little bit more natural. Then when we go over here to this tank, the Congo tank, this is the one that we made that concrete background. So there's the background there. It's all concrete. It completely conceals all the filter mechanism and everything. You guys know that this filter is not for this tank. This is going to be concealed in that back corner. That's going to be the filter for the 120-gallon planted tank and the plant wall. But the topic of today is this stuff here. So I actually finally threw it together. It's been sitting in the garage for about a week. I got a couple of the boards got a little bit of a bow to them, so I'm gonna have to kind of get it in here, get some weight on it. That's why I went and put that 3/4 inch piece of 3/4 inch plywood. Yeah, look at me like a high roller going and putting a piece of 3/4 inch spruce plywood down as a base. Well, I had it in the garage. There's no way I would go out and buy that for this project. It's not needed. I could have used something a lot thinner, but it's going to add some rigidity and stability to this. Now, what this purpose of this rack is going to be is this rack is going to be another set of racks for fish tanks. It's not that big of a rack. It's a 4-foot rack. So the two tanks on top are going to be about, I believe they're 32 gallons or 28 gallons. They're right around that 30-gallon mark. And they're kind of cube-shaped tanks. Now you're looking at, that's the opening from above. About two of them sit side by side, and then they'll flip over. And what you're looking at through at the boat, that's against the back wall. That's actually the bottom. So they're 24 inches by 18 front to back, and I believe they're 15 or 16 tall. And then I do intend on putting kind of a shelf above these tanks that'll suspend the lighting, but also then give me an extension for some of the plants that are growing up above the tank. Some of the plants are just, you got to look at this thing. This is absolutely exceptional. This is the first time it's ever bloomed. Every time I get a new growth, it disappears. But this is a orchid. This is a Phragmipedium, and I believe this one is Caudatum. This is a Phragmipedium, so it's a slipper orchid. And this one comes from
South America. Now, this one here has a plant. Same with this big Philodendron Belletii, shooting out all sorts of new leaves. And some of these orchids and stuff, all are going to have a place in this vivarium here, or this riparium jungle wall thing. The neat thing about these type of orchids is they actually grow in water. So they grow with the feet. The roots of the plant are actually growing directly in water all the time. So I use fish tank water and I water it all the time and it keeps it going. But the real neat thing about this is when it sends out these, the petals, is the petals can often just continue. As long as they don't touch anything, they can keep growing. And some of these plants can grow these things down to like 3 feet. And it's thought to use to help them in aiding with pollination because they believe they are ant pollinated. So these things would drape down to the ground and then the ants would crawl up into the flower and then pollinate the flowers inside. Really, really cool. But I can't wait to get that sort of stuff going on this thing here. The purpose of showing you all those different backgrounds is this rack is going to hold 4 standard 10-gallon tanks on end. So you're going to have the short sides viewable, more for kind of breeding, for unique fish. I've got a real idea, a real kind of a short list of some of the species that I want to work with. I want to try and do more traditional, old school kind of aquatics with this setup. Some black water elements and some different botanicals and stuff. Maybe some apistos, maybe some killies, maybe some weird anabantoids. You know, whatever tickles my fancy at the time. But normally for me, for small tanks, I would just go and paint the backgrounds. Well, that's not going to really cut it for me this time. So I found something a little bit unique. It was actually when I was on one of my visits to my friends over in Saskatchewan, the guys that have helped me out getting a bunch of the spiders, is in the kits. These come in the kits for a bearded dragon setup, and they're intended to be used as kind of like a carpet of sorts, a desert terrarium substrate. And basically, it's a full resin-like product. Here's one here that I've opened up. And it's got an inert sand, so it's not going to alter the water chemistry. I've already checked that. And it's somewhat impregnated in this kind of vinyl background. Very, very similar in style to the Back to Nature style backgrounds that I used in this tank, which you guys have seen, and I'll put the link up there. But I have these things here. But I've got about 3 or 4 boxes of these, and they were pretty much given to me, and they're nice and natural, and I want to use kind of natural sands, you know, some of the different sands. I showed you guys in that video when I was looking for sand for the Congo tank that we wanted to go. We didn't want white, but we went with this kind of natural. I believe this one was called river sand. But there was that one that I mentioned that the owner of the aficionado said it looks exactly like the sand when he's collected fish in Suriname. And it is kind of a yellowy color like this. And I think that'll look really, really good working with some of the different things like the unique kerosins and killies and whatnot and stuff like that. So I'm looking at the idea of cutting this and installing it on the back of these tanks. So first off is we're going to measure the inside of the aquarium. We want to leave a little bit of room. So we're going to measure it at 14.5 by 23.25. Something that was free, something that came with a kit, something that was disposable to them. We've repurposed it for something I think is going to be pretty cool, especially because it's going to go in these kind of black water tanks with that kind of nice natural looking substrate. I think it's going to disappear in. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. You'll be able to see these tanks set up when we get this rack finished and set up down the road in a future video. So as always, my friends, thank you kindly for watching. Till next time, take care. Cheers.